Yeah, we're just here with Neal Wen here, who's delivering all our athletic testing for the Super League Combine. So just want to let you guys get to know Neal. So just, Neal, can you just give us a little bit of background about yourself and what it is you actually do?
So I'm a strength and conditioning coach. I've been working in basketball for 7 years now, and that's basically all I focus on and do. I kind of specialize in. I've had experience working with the pros. But most of my focus is really on high school. High school athletes, see what it takes to really go up to the next level.
Now we do get a lot of interest from kids in our program who are looking in the sports science department. Can you just give us a little bit of background about your education and what you had to do to get the position that you're in?
So basically, I just finished my master's last year, and from a sports science standpoint, we are actually now doing research collaborations with Central Queensland University up there. It's a lot of work. It's just a lot of work.
So you mentioned Central Queensland University doing a lot of research. What exactly are you doing with them, and how are we using this data on them?
So basically, what's actually happening is there's not a lot of research in basketball. There's a lot of different things like in sports like soccer and whatnot, but there's actually not a lot of good research data on basketball. And what we hope to do is actually supply a lot of the research, to demonstrate, what might help, what might be a good indicator to become a good basketball player.
Okay, that's good. And so, obviously, with this, mentioning sports science, and you're in that community, I know you have a vast network of people that you work with across the world. I understand it's a very small community. Can you just talk about your network and who you actually work with and a lot of the ideas that you get, where do they come from?
So I get a lot of, I actually do a lot of collaboration work with a lot of my friends and some of my friends in the States, like people like in Utah, who actually private training sectors who actually also work with NBA players on a private basis. So I do kind of do a lot of collaboration work there, and then try and learn and try and get ideas from sports scientists as well, people who's actually directly involved in research, and see how we can apply research into practice. I think that's one of the biggest things for me.
Well, you obviously mentioned working from the guys in Utah that work with some of the NBA players, and really I think with that whole athletic testing that we brought into, the combine, we tried to simulate that sort of environment. So obviously when they go to the States, even in college, all of these kids are going to be undergo some sort of testing, so they're trying to get some exposure. So with that in mind, can you go over some of the tests? And I think from a scientist, a sports science perspective, and obviously this information is then the coaching staff receives this. Can you talk about the tests that you actually do and what it's designed for?
So we do a lot. What I would really want from these tests is really to, over the next 4 or 5 years, is to see what sort of tests, what sort of results we need for success at the next level. I think that's a big key for me. Is kids at 15 years old, what sort of, for talent ID purposes, what sort of results we got now, and trying to foresee the future in some way. Okay, and then once the kids reach year 12, finish high school, they're about trying to pursue college, we want to see what's the sort of minimum standards requirements of each test. As far as what sort of tests we did the regular speed sprint, 20-meter sprint test, and specifically we actually also got the 5-10 meters as well, which is a measure for acceleration. That's very important for basketball. Because basketball is really more about acceleration than the actual 20 meters. So those two things are probably a couple of key things I'll probably be looking at as far as talent ID standpoint, and see if theoretically guys who does better than the 5 and 10 meter mark should be a better basketball player. And we also did a vertical jump test, which is also very important. Because that's really what basketball is, right? It's basically a competition, a race, 20 inches to the rim. It's basically a 20-inch race. So I think that's very important that we look at it too. We also, once again, we look at the minimum standards for kids trying to go to college, whether it's Division I, Division II, or even JUCO, Okay, what sort of minimum standard requirement are we going to have there?
Well, so I know because we've just done the test, and so when you're talking about a minimum standard for, say, the vertical jump test, what is your minimum standard as far as looking at that?
I think most guys should actually expect to get at least 300 centimeters of a standing vertical jump, okay, without a step, at minimum 300. 60 centimeters as far as the actual height they jump. To me, that 60 centimeters is kind of like the cutoff where, you are kind of athletic, okay, you're kind of athletic enough. But if you can't get that 300 mark, to me, it's going to be really hard. It's going to be a hard process.
Right, that's fair enough. And I know with the agility, because we did the agility test as well, can you just talk about a little bit about the agility test and what you're looking for in that?
So the agility T-test is one of those tests that's being presented in the literature, which it's pretty good. It's a pretty solid test for court sport athletes. Okay, and there's still more to me. I think there's still more to be done in basketball, and this is where it gets really exciting with what we're doing, because we are now able to kind of present more data on the high school population for the agility T-test. But at a high level, it seems to be able to differentiate between your elite players and sub-elite players. So I would really like to see what happens with this as we move forward.
No, that's fantastic. And so I know that we're checking the kids' height and weight and standing, reach, and wingspan. What's the importance of that data?
Well, obviously your height and weight is very important in basketball. That's what pretty much determines what position you're going to play for the most of the time. So that's pretty where that comes. And weight, we have to look at the weight, especially for the post players. The post player that needs to be a little heavier to anchor the post at the bottom. At the bottom rim, so that's going to be very important. What we're going to be looking at for positional purposes.
I think that's pretty much it. I think you've definitely gone into a lot of detail there. That's giving people an idea of what we're looking for and what's the design of the test and those sorts of things. So thanks for that, Neal.